Hello, AP students. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have your notes for Chapter 7 Cognition. And we're going to take a look at the first part talking about what is memory. So, memory, is basically wrapping around three basic tasks. And we're going to talk about these tasks here in a moment. But human memory takes essentially meaningless sensory information and changes it into something that's meaningful, some kind of meaningful pattern that can be stored and used later. And part of being able to put something into storage so that you can use later is by using what is known as the information processing model. It's basically our cognitive understanding of memory, emphasizing how information is changed when it's encoded, stored, and retrieved. And if you take a look at the diagram below, anytime we talk about the encoding, we're taking whatever that raw stimulus is, and it is the input process, okay, how we're, kind of recording it. The storage part is how we manipulate it or use elaboration to put it into place. And then finally, uh, the retrieval part is kind of the output. How are we going to access it when we want it? So the three basic tasks, as we mentioned a moment ago: encoding, storage, and retrieval. And we're going to break each one of these down just a little bit. So when we talk about encoding, this is one of the three basic tasks of memory, involving the modification of information to fit the preferred format for the memory system. And encoding can be, really automatic and rapid, that we don't even have an awareness of the process. Memories for concepts usually require a deliberate encoding effort called elaboration. And this is the kind of stuff that we have to do when we talk about learning things here in school. If we want to be able to, access that information at a later time, we have to kind of find ways to kind of get it to where we want it. The whole idea of elaboration is taking a new concept and trying to relate it to some existing information in our memory. So if we have an understanding of certain, vocabulary terms, and understanding maybe, um, the synonym of that, or even the prefix or the suffix, we can kind of make sense of some of this new stuff. Storage, this is essentially a memory task that involves the retention of encoded material over time. And memory consists of basically three stages: kind of a sensory memory, which is really short, it's just a matter of seconds. A working memory, sometimes known as short-term memory, and then eventually, hopefully, a long-term memory. And to get information into that long-term memory or storage, you typically have to do some recoding of that information, meaning that you're going to have to repeat it or figure out ways to elaborate it anyway before the clock runs out, meaning that if you don't work with it in a period of time, you're going to lose that information. And that won't lead to the following thing, which is important, and that's your retrieval. Being able to take that encoded memory and to, access it. But a proper encoded memory takes only a split second for a good cue to access that information. In other words, bringing it to consciousness, your awareness. And the human memory system sometimes makes errors and distorts information, or even fails us completely. If you think about it, you could be a witness to an event where a lot of other people are witnesses as well. But the way you remember that years to come could be very, very different. Okay. Even within, criminal cases where people are recounting, some kind of event, a crime maybe, witnesses might have different memories or recollections of that. So yeah, there can be some errors there. Okay, we're not perfect by any means. The eidetic memory or imagery, this is especially clear and persistent forms of memory that are really quite rare. Sometimes they're known as photographic memories, and it portrays the most interesting and meaningful parts of the scene most accurately. Their vivid images can clutter their minds, and the eidetic imagery, for the most part, is more common in children than it is in adults. And the estimate is somewhere around 5% of kids experience what we call photographic memory. And that might consist of being able to um, maybe memorize a book that maybe a parent has read maybe once or twice and just kind of know what it says. This typically disappears by the time our child has reached formal operations. In other words, as soon as they're starting to do some abstract reasoning, this ability to just kind of like have that photographic memory is gone. All right. Thank you very much.